I'm Dutch, and let's react to the Americans. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Johan, and I'm a typical Dutchman. And if you're thinking about coming over to Europe for your holidays or to live here permanently, or if you're wondering why are those prices in the US so high in comparison with Europe, then you are at the right channel, because in this channel I look at the cost of life and living in the US versus the cost of life and living in Europe, or in specifically the Netherlands. And today we're going to take a look at this video of Adam Something, interesting name, American versus European suburbs, and why the US suburbs suck. Okay, let's start with subscribe and like, and then let's take a look why he says that suburbs of Europe are, why the American suburbs are suck. I see it's a 6-minute video, so it won't be a long one today. Let's go to it.
Are very far apart and look mostly the same. There is barely anything on the well-manicured lawns, post boxes, a few trees or bushes, and the occasional fire hydrant. Now compare this to a suburb in Leipzig, Germany. What
Leipzig, Germany. Okay.
differences do you notice? First off, there is stuff around you. The streetscape is very diverse and mentally engaging. In comparison, the American suburb looks like a desolate urban wasteland. Also, in the European suburb, the street is narrow, there is a
Okay. Are all the suburbs in Europe like this? No. But they are similar.
30 kilometers per hour speed limit, and the buildings are close together. Do notice the tram tracks. In this suburb, you can live car-free. If you want to go to the center, you can either take the tram or ride your bike for 20 minutes on dedicated bike lanes.
Yeah, there's a separate bike lane from the road. Very wide. It's not often that it's this wide.
Or take the S-Bahn, because there's a...
Wait. Was there an Uber Eat? Get back. This one, the first one on the bike. Yeah, okay. We call Lieferhaus. Deutsch, in German, Lieferhaus. Oh, no, I know I'm wrong with the name. Uber Eat is called here in the Netherlands. So it's the same, but in German it's called Lieferhaus. Okay.
Or take the S-Bahn, because there's also a train station. In the American suburb.
Yeah. That's a train station or a subway in near the suburb. That's normal. If there isn't, no, I'm telling it wrong. If there is not a subway connection or a train connection, then there's at least a decent bus connection.
You have no option but to drive. Head out onto the busiest road, a horrifying mix of street and road, onto the jammed highway, and after an hour you'll be in the center, searching for a parking spot.
Yeah, if he says, and I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if this is the standard view in every American city heading to 3 lanes on each side, yeah, it's not very appealing, and let's say it's not safe.
How about going to a restaurant? In the European suburb, there are dozens of different, unique, local restaurants reachable on foot, by bike, or public transit. In the
it's called the walkable city.
American suburb, you're an hour walk away from a chain restaurant.
Oh, an hour away walking?
Next to a busiest road. If you want to eat, you gotta get in your car. What if you have children? In this European suburb, there are 3 schools close by. Kids
3 schools, yeah. any school. I don't know if it's primary school or secondary or...
Can walk or bike there on their own and learn to be independent early on. In the American suburb, a child could get to school after 35 minutes of walking, mostly along a busy arterial road, also having to cross a 6-lane road.
Yeah.
Somehow, I mean there's no crosswalk, so kids have to be driven to school every day by mommy and daddy. The same goes for sports. Over here, kids can take a 10-minute walk to the nearest sports field or a 3-minute bike ride on calm, safe streets on their own.
In Europe, yeah.
The US, it's a 40-minute march through
a... minute march, if you do it walking. A 40-minute march. And I'm looking if... Yeah, it's by Google, so I assume that he already... took the most safest way, because I see a connection, maybe not going there, but going here, and then going through there, and then going through here, and then should be a bit shorter, but still a long walk.
A maze of streets partially along a major transit artery. Gotta get in the SUV and let mommy drive you to practice. This is where the term soccer mom originates from.
Yeah. One mom who brings all the kids of the neighborhood to the practice, yeah.
By the way, people lament today's children for being overly dependent on their parents. But in such neighborhoods, children don't have a choice but to be dependent. Otherwise, they cannot go anywhere. They are stuck at home. In contrast, in European suburbs, kids can be let out safely to move around on their own, to go to places they want to, without the need for the mommy and daddy taxi service.
Now, yeah, it's... a lot smaller streets as in US. You already see this. It's, I guess it's, what should it be? 10 meters wide with a sidewalk. By default, there's a sidewalk because it's a suburb, and yeah, trees. So it's much safer to walk here.
Do note that yellow residential building on the left. That is a mid-rise. European suburbs tend to be a mixture of those and single or multi-family homes, like on...
Yeah, that's something I don't, and I know it has to do with zoning in the United States, but in Europe, there are different houses on the same block, and it looks better. It has a better connection with each other. This could be rental houses, and this could be a buy house, a bought house. So somebody had bought this house, and this is rental apartments, and they both live on the same street. Why not? But I believe in America, it's only one type of house for the entire neighborhood, on a road that is twice as wide as this one with no sidewalks. Yeah.
This street. Zoning in US suburbs only allows for single-family homes, and
very often, yeah.
They are usually placed very far apart, leading to low density and long distances. This makes public transportation non-viable. Over here in Europe, hundreds of people live within walking distance of this tram stop. In the US, if you put a tram stop here, you'd have a few dozen people living within walking distance. Meaning, even if you built public transit here, almost nobody would take it.
Yeah, and what I'm missing here, and that's something...
People living within walking distance. Meaning...
That is something you would see in Europe a lot, I believe in Germany, but especially in the Netherlands, in those slower suburbs, this crossing here is raised. So it is a raised crossing, which means that somebody with high speed going over this, it won't happen. So while it's a raised crossing with, of course, sidewalks, then it makes a safer crossing, and people have to slow down at each crossing, and that's make it safer for the entire neighborhood. This is just how you call it, a racing track. You can stab on the gas and go on, and yeah.
built public transit here, almost nobody would take it, because no matter how you build it, people would be too far away from it. If you're half an hour away on foot from the nearest tram stop, you'll take your car instead, and people do. So giant highways had to be built, rammed right into the city, usually demolishing non-white neighborhoods in the process. The end result was mass motorization all across America, constant traffic jams, noise and pollution, but not for the suburbanites. It was the urban dwellers, particularly those who were poor, who had to live near high traffic areas in cheap, low-quality housing. The suburbs also became a growth Ponzi scheme, where income from the suburbs couldn't cover future infrastructure overhauls, so the city had to expand and sell new properties constantly to get enough money to maintain what they already have. Not Just Bikes did a great video about this, link in the description. The suburbs and car-centric development were useful political tools in the 1950s to enforce a Christian conservative, white nationalist hierarchy within American society.
What? I forgot a history how the US government segregated America. We want white talents in our white community.
Where white men are on top, women are at home, fully dependent on their husbands, and where all resources are channeled towards the white middle and upper class in the form of billions in state subsidies. And the rest of society, poor people, non-whites, were left to fend for themselves in
Yeah, this is in the 50s?
decaying urban centers sucked dry financially by the parasitic suburbs around them. Car-centric planning became a weapon of choice for conservatives in order to maintain the unequal status quo. And this phenomenon isn't unique to America. In Europe, as our cities transition away from cars, the opponents of this change are almost always conservatives. While the incumbent Paris mayor campaigned on eliminating 50,000 parking spaces, her conservative opponent, who looks frankly diabolical even by French standards, wanted to halt decongestion measures. In Prague, a city overrun by cars, conservatives keep screaming about the cyclo-fascists ruining the city after a shadow is painted somewhere. Meanwhile, conservative district mayors are busy turning sidewalks into parking lots. In Madrid, the conservative city leadership cancelled the ultra-low emission zones, leading to local protests to bring them back. In Budapest, we have Orbán's far-right conservatives.
Wow, he's babbling high speed. I want to react, but what is he talking about? About conservatives? Let's go back.
Decongestion measures. In Prague, a city overrun by cars, conservatives keep screaming
In Prague, a city overrun by cars, yes?
about the cyclo-fascists ruining
The cyclo-fascists who are ruining
the city after a shadow is painted somewhere. Meanwhile,
Prague 4 turned part of the sidewalk into a parking lot. The change sparked a battle on social networks. Yeah.
conservative district mayors are busy turning sidewalks into parking lots. In Madrid, the conservative city
Madrid?
leadership cancelled the ultra-low emission zones, leading to local protests to bring them back. In Budapest, we have Orbán's far-right conservatives screaming about how there is a witch hunt against drivers by the new center-left mayor, and complaining how in inner-city Budapest it's almost faster to walk now than to drive.
Yeah, that's usually the goal of the inner city, that you can walk better than that you can drive, so keep the cars out.
In Germany, Bavarian conservatives are dumping money into highways while letting the rail network fall into disrepair. As a rule of thumb, in every city with decongestion measures, you also find conservatives screaming about the war on cars, the symbol of hierarchy in transportation, where the affluent suburban minority gets to occupy 80% of public space inside cities, compared to the more egalitarian space use of public.
Oh, he's now going so fast that I can't follow along what he's saying about. But there are a lot of cities in Europe who are changing to be more walkable and keeping the cars out. And in Prague, if he's talking about Prague, in Prague city, public transport in the city is for free. So he's ramping out against the conservatives, as in political, but I don't want to be political.
Public transit and bicycles. God forbid you have to get out of your giant SUV of death and get on a tram with the peasants. Of course, upholding the conservative hierarchy isn't why suburbs are built today in the US. It's mostly just a necessary continuation of the Ponzi scheme that began with the first suburbs. Also, it's due to faulty zoning codes not allowing for mid-rise developments that would actually make more money for the city, increase density, and make public transit viable. In Europe,
yeah. Yeah. Ponzi scheme. The codependency is there because a lot of higher and the companies who have stocks and shares, I have to say, not stocks, they have shares, or they earn a lot of money on selling oil products, they want to have that people need a car. So because they want to, they invest a lot of money into it just to keep the public car dependent and counter any law or initiative to make a city more walkable. I don't know if it's a Ponzi scheme, but that's my opinion.
Our suburbs are mixed, with both mid-rises, single and multi-family homes. They're an organic part of the city and contribute fairly to the local budget. There is also subsidized, affordable public transit. All in all, it's more egalitarian. And if the US situation sounds depressing in contrast, as an American, there are things you can do to potentially help change things. If there is a local transit riders union, go.
Yeah. Join local riders union.
Or join it. Look if there are any initiatives on the ballot for traffic calming, bike lanes, etc. Show up to your local town hall meetings and advocate for zoning reform, ending parking minimums, and so on. If you're persistent enough, your ideas will be heard, and you can help push America back towards sensible, fair, more egalitarian urban planning, one neighborhood at a time. That's what I would do if I were you.
Okay. Woo! Fast at the end, he went very fast through it. If 6 minutes. Oh wow! Wrapping out. Yeah, Europe is not perfect, but what I see from America and the American suburbs and the roads in and around suburbs, then I think everything is based on cars. If they even started somewhere, somehow, at when there's a new road or there's there need to be something else done at a road, or there's a new suburb being built, if they actually start with connecting good sidewalks, then you already have a starting point. But for now, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something with me. And I hope that somewhere in America, this car-centric will switch somewhere. I don't know when or where, but it definitely needs to fight against those politicians with lots of money supported by the car industry and the oil industry to keep the cars in the road and set off bicycles and people. If you like this kind of videos, then watch one of these, and otherwise you can press on this button to subscribe. And I will say thank you for watching and see you in the next video.